And you know, he shook the world, man. When we got that call on March the 27th, 2001, saying your baby brother was murdered, and he shouldn't get a second chance, because if he did it once, he's going to do it again. I think he should get life in prison, where he cannot hurt anybody.
Convening at Rainbow Board Correctional Center. Today is Wednesday, April 6, 2022. It's 9:06 a.m. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chair today. The members of the panel today, seated to my left is Ms. Bonnie Jackson. To my right is Ms. Parole Wise. With the staff there at Rainbow Board, please introduce yourself for the record.
Wayne Millis, Deputy Warden.
Brent Thompson, Assistant Warden.
Joseph Board on Records.
Lara Harmison, Classification.
All right, good morning, everybody. And we have before us, is that Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. Would you introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Kelvin Thomas.
And what's your DOC number?
47, 83.
All right, Mr. Thomas, let me explain the process. I'll read some identifying information into the record, after which we'll conduct an interview with you. We'll start with Ms. Parle Wise. Your case has been assigned to her. Once that process is complete, we'll ask the warden there for his input, and then we'll hear from your guests who've indicated they'd like to speak. Let me just recognize them now. We have here in support your daughter, Clarencia Robinson, cousin Lisa Davis, your mother, Wanda Thomas. We also have here in support, who are not speaking, your brother, Alvin Thomas, your son, Mr. Kelvin Reed, and another cousin, Ashley Davis. We do have here in opposition, who will also be speaking, representative from the DA's office in Tangipahoa Parish, Mr. Daniels, and the victim's brother, Mr. Charles Basile. We'll give them the opportunity for their remarks, and at the very end, you'll be allowed to make a statement if you'd like to do so. Okay?
Ms. Renatza.
Sorry.
Hey, this is Warden Mills. We're not seeing you on the screen.
Okay. Can you see us now?
Yeah, we see
Okay.
you.
Thanks for that. We appreciate it. So did you understand all that, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you are Kelvin C. Thomas, DOC number 404783. You're classified as a second felony offender. You are currently serving a 45-year sentence. You having been sentenced in June of 2012 as a habitual offender for manslaughter. You have a parole eligibility date later this year, October 24th, 2022. Your good time date is March 30th, 2045, with a full term date March 25th, 2046. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Would you answer Ms. Wise, please?
Good morning, Mr. Thomas.
Good morning, ma'am.
I was assigned your case, so I'll be interviewing you first. Tell me how long you've been in jail on this charge.
21 years.
Okay, so got arrested in 2001 and you weren't convicted until 2012.
I was
Right.
convicted in 08.
You were convicted in 08, okay. You were convicted in 08, then what happened in 2012?
2012. I was taken back to court for, and my charge was vacated for habitual offender.
Oh, okay, that's what happened, okay. Okay, so 21 years on you are now 45-year sentence. So tell me what happened, sir. Why are you in jail?
Ma'am, I got involved in some things that I shouldn't have got involved in. And I went to this place of business, which was going, me and a guy that was doing business. And he had this other guy that his intentions was on robbing the guy or the place. By me being in the facility, when everything happened, it happened so fast to where I really wasn't closely paying attention of my full surroundings of the people that was around me. And when it came about, I just reacted to what was going on in front of me. I never, it wasn't actually, nothing was intentional, but at the same time, I was there. And when a gun was pulled, I panicked. The victim was hit with a tie tool. Something was taken out of his hand, something silver. I wasn't really sure what was happening. The victim, he ran, but when he ran kind of close to me and he swung the tie tool. I reacted to that and I ran behind him. I went to swing the pistol, and when I swung the pistol, it caught on the back part of his collar. And when he moved, the gun automatically went off. Not knowing exactly what happened, I seen what happened, but I kept moving past him. In a sense, I stopped and I left.
So you went there with the intention of robbing that business?
No, ma'am.
What was your intention?
My intention, I went there to pick up some money, and it had some other
Pick up some
guys
money
that was
from
there. Ma'am?
pick up some money from who?
From the victim.
Oh, okay. You were there to pick up some money from him.
Yes.
He owed you money?
Yes.
What kind of relationship did you have with the victim?
Marijuana. Purchasing marijuana.
Oh, you were his dealer,
Sort of.
sir?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I read the police report, and it was a tragic day. It's very, very tragic. And the families here, and they are opposed. On record, the victim's family are very opposed to your early release. The record shows you have 365 days of programs. So you've been busy in these 21 years. So call out the top 3 programs that you've taken that really meant the most to you.
The first one was the organization that I became a member of, which was BBOA, which is Benevolent Brothers of Allen. Stay Out, Get Out, Stay Out program, and Nurturing Parenting program. The organization that I was in, it gave me the tools to understand more, better, and officially who I was as a person. It allowed me to understand value of life, and it gave me the opportunity to actually be able to help others in situations that I was once in, to kind of give them the tools and opportunities to show them that it's better ways than what to choose from that we actually have at hand. The Nurturing Parenting class, it taught me more about parenting. My children was born when I was young, and I really didn't know how to actually raise them as a father. And this class here gave me gave me more understanding to where the children is actually more needed of you instead of just actually trying to purchase things and buy them things. It was basically the timing that I should have placed as in leisure time more with them than my own priorities. And
So true. Go ahead.
And for the other class, which is Stay Out, Get Out, the understanding in this class was actually it's to respect everything around you, the human life, nature life, and it kind of runs down to the opportunities that we actually have other than actually going back into the streets or committing whatever crime it is that we may have in front of us. So, well, at the time, I didn't actually understand. I knew it, but I didn't know how to speak to people. I didn't know how to take my problems or my emotions to people and express it to them. I was more of a shy type person, but I kind of kept everything inside. But this here allows me to see the people that's in front of me as in support and to go to them and ask them for the support that I need, any type of advice, asking my mother.
I got Mr. Thomas. Let me stop you there. The record shows that you're the father of 5 children and you have 3 mothers. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of relationship do you have with the children now? Any contact?
It's a beautiful relationship. All my kids, we get along pretty good. We communicate with them all.
Okay. You had a contraband write-up in 2010. What was that contraband?
I had a bottle of ibuprofen pills.
I didn't hear you.
Ibuprofen pills.
Oh, ibuprofen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. They prescribed for you?
I bought them at a facility, the Huntsville Correctional Facility. And when I got shipped to Allen, I still had them. I ended up going to the cell block, and they shook down and found the pills, and wrote me up for them.
Okay. All right. Okay. I see on the record that you earned your GED in 2016, but that wasn't one of your top 3. But I want to commend you on that. They don't give those away. What's your current job in the prison?
I work in the kitchen as a kitchen clerk.
A kitchen clerk?
Yes, ma'am.
How long you had that job?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. If you were successful today, where would you live and how would you support yourself?
I would live with my mother. I have a job set up working in the florist, and I have an uncle which is setting up some things for me to help him out in the business that he has.
Working in the florist. So, what would your job be in the florist?
Delivery, taking orders, inventory.
When I look at the record, it seems like you were on supervision when you committed this crime. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but so you were still actively dealing drugs on supervision. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And I do want to advise you that law enforcement is opposed to your early release. There's nothing you can do about it, but I just want to state that on the record. There's an indication that you are eligible for substance abuse treatment. Do you think you need any kind of treatment?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your drug of choice?
Marijuana.
What age did you start?
Now.
What age did you start using marijuana?
15.
Have you put in for it? Have you requested substance abuse treatment?
Yes, ma'am.
You have?
Yes, ma'am. I took AA class and the other class for it, but yes, ma'am. I still I don't actually desire the drug anymore, but I do still feel that I need a little help with it.
Okay, because I'm not seeing living in balance that has drug treatment in it. So you took AA class, and that's the only thing you take it for substance.
AA. Other substance abuse.
Okay, and you're in Rehabilitation now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Graduated. Okay, you started that. Okay, in January. Okay. All right, that's all I had. What can you share with us about Mr. Thomas? Thank you for answering my question.
Well, Kelvin transferred to us back in 17, and since he's been here, he hasn't had any disciplinary issues at all. All those disciplinary reports from prior to. He's been pretty active in programming. He's taken 9 different programs since he's been here. Now, when we talked yesterday, we did talk about the living in balance. That's the one class that we feel that he should have probably taken, so he is aware of that. He has been placed on the backlog. So, but other than that, there's really no issues with him. I mean, we haven't had any issues. Like I say, he's been here since 17. Conduct's pretty clean.
I do want to stay on the record. I think you've had 3 write-ups in 21 years. Is that correct, Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
4. Where was it? 20? How many was it? How many last 21 years?
How many in 21 years?
So how many write-ups have you had in the last 21 years?
3.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Ms. Jackson has some questions. Good morning, Mr. Thomas. My name is Bonnie Jackson, and I'd like to ask you some questions. Do you think it's important for a person who has committed a crime or caused harm to accept responsibility for their actions?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think that's important?
Because accepting the responsibility, it allows the person to understand what they have done, and the conscience of a person not accepting it takes away the value of it. And for me to actually accept it is that I understand what I've done. I understand that I was in the wrong. I understand that everything that happened shouldn't have happened, but it did.
Thank you. But let me just go back to that point, because when Ms. Wise asked you to tell us what happened, she didn't ask you that because we don't have the facts in front of us. The reason we asked that is to find out, one, your level of honesty, and two, your willingness to accept responsibility for what you've done. And you yourself have acceptance of responsibility is really a necessary step in the rehabilitation process. And you claim that you went into the store, you didn't know what was going to happen, things just happened all of a sudden, the victim was running towards you, something in his hand, and you shot. But the record indicates that you and two other people, one of whom was an employee of the Piggly Wiggly, had planned to commit this robbery. After the store closed on the day of the offense, two offenders, that being you and Christopher Johnson, entered the store from the ceiling. You all had been hiding out in the ceiling, waiting for the opportune time. And you all made noise in the ceiling, which caused another employee to shout out, call 911. Kelvin Thomas was armed with a handgun, while Christopher Johnson had a crowbar and 3 rolls of duct tape. Mr. Bazile, who was a gentleman who was murdered, gained control of the crowbar and attempted to, get out of the situation that you all had put him in. And Mr. Johnson took the crowbar and beat Mr. Bazile repeatedly with the crowbar. Mr. Bazile tried to flee the store, at which time Kelvin Thomas shot him in the head. The employee, Gary Matthews, was the person who helped you all plan the robbery, and he fled out the back door. Now that's totally different from what you told Ms. Wise. That was totally different. How could you say you didn't know what was going on when you guys came out of the ceiling armed with a gun, crowbar, and duct tape? So why would you not be honest, Mr. Thomas, and acknowledge what you had actually done in this case? That was why it's so difficult for you to be truthful about this.
Well, understand what's been read, and understand what majority of things have happened. But as in the fellas, which is Christopher Johnson and Mr. Matthews, it was actually another guy that was involved.
Sir, did you and Mr. Johnson enter the store through the ceiling?
I didn't enter the store with Mr. Johnson, ma'am.
Did you enter the store through the ceiling?
No, ma'am.
I don't have anything else, Mr. Thomas. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. we'll hear from your family members, those who are here in support, and we'd like to start with your mother, Ms. Thomas. Go ahead, Ms. Thomas. You have to take your microphone off of mute.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here on the behalf of my son, Kelvin Thomas, which from a young child, he was always willing to help others in any circumstances. He's a very gentle, loving person, and he's always accomplished what he intended to do. When he was coming up, he was well mannered. I mean, he Christian environment, always yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, always willing to help others. And also, during his jail time, Kevin has reached out to so many people, to my understanding, and I have inmates. He have provided support with them, social, emotional, pray with them, have Bible study with them. He have did a lot GED program. He has worked with others, being respectful, like he has been raised to be respectful. And I'd like to say also that he's very involved with his siblings, his family members. He has a lot of support. And if he's released from jail, he also has a lot of support. He would have meetings. I mean, and I know he'll be an asset to the community by giving back. Senior citizen program, youth program, that he expressed to me that he would love to help the youth to commit violence, so that would be no violence or crimes. He would like to help have a organization as of that sort, and we are willing to help him to give back to the community and to help others, whether it be through senior citizen, youth environment, whatever he wants to do. His whole entire family is willing to help him. And he really is a good person. He's not a bad person. And I'm not saying that because I'm his mother. I have seen that over the years, what kind of person he from a child, what kind of person he is.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. We appreciate your input.
Mm-hmm.
Can we hear from Ms. Florencia Robinson?
Hello, I'm the victim's daughter, Clarencia. I'm sorry, I said the wrong one. I'm sorry.
Mr. Thomas's daughter.
Yes, I'm Mr. Thomas's daughter. I'm so sorry.
Okay, go ahead, ma'am. We'd like to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Even though I know my dad went when I was about 7 or 8. But even though I didn't have him physically, I mean, he's always been there. He wasn't there physically, but like if I had a problem, I could always get word to him. He would always call me, basically parent through the phone. Like, I don't feel like this is my first time hearing exactly what happened. So I was kind of like, wow, but that's not who he is. I would say like that's not where I get from him. Like I said, he wasn't there physically, but I can always go to my dad like, hey, I have this issue. And I can say that he kept me out of trouble, because some stuff that I would want to do coming up from the environment that I have went to foster care as a child. So I can understand, like, he'll be like, no, even though you're going through this, but don't do that. Like he corrected what was going on. So I feel like it's time. I have children now. The one that's with the pink on behind me, she currently has liver cancer. And she doesn't have her dad either. So I would want him, they know of him, but they don't know him. And I want my kids to know him. So that's why I feel like he should be given a second chance.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Ms. Lisa Davis.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank the board for allowing me this opportunity to speak. I grew up with Kevin, and we were so tight. It was me. He has a twin, and another sister now, and a brother. But the four of us were always just like thick as thieves. If you seen one, you seen the other. Not saying this is an excuse or anything, but my cousin lost his dad when he was really, really young. And we know without a father figure, sometimes we get off to the wrong road. My cousin is a loving person. I know people have had that, have said that, and are trying to figure out if this person is such a loving person. Well, how did he end up like this? As I look over my life, I realize that I've made some poor decisions and some poor choices and even made some mistakes. But I think we all have made mistakes, not to certain degrees, but I feel like everybody deserves a second chance. And all of the rapport that we've heard from the facilities and the police officers, how he's such a humble person and how he has changed. We have to also understand that when Kevin went to prison and when all this happened, he was just nearly becoming an adult. He's spent over 21 years in prison. Now he's a man and he can take responsibility for the things that has happened in the past. But I feel like we provide as a community and as a state adequate rehabilitation services to allow people to make mistakes and be able to have a second chance. I trust in the government, in the system, to provide this service for not just him, but for everybody that comes into the facilities. I feel like he will be an example where he can go out into the community and stop other kids from coming out like him. We need him in the community to show them this is not how they want to go. This is not the life that they want to live. And who better to be able to explain and bring our youth that's troubled, that are headed down the wrong road, than somebody who's already been through it. So I feel like he deserves a second chance. He's already been spent 21 years in jail, and I know you can't replace a life, but who can say that they never made a mistake or been in a situation that they regretted where they were and not even and learn from that mistakes? We have to own up to what we have done, own up to our mistakes, and be able to become a better person. That's why we are here, to continue to be a better person. And I feel like he has such a great support system, and he might have not knew that then, because after his dad died, he might have felt lost or alone or whatever. We don't know what he was going through, but I hope that he knows now that we love him and we care for him, and we will be there to support him and make sure that he stays on track. And not only that, but to continue the work that he started even in prison, the ministry, and helping other people so that they will also be able to have a second chance at life.
Well, thank you.
Let me preface this by saying that no one is winning in this situation. But I have to clear a few things up. Some things that they were saying really bothered me. First and foremost, I really respect the victim's brother for sitting there quietly and letting people say what they had to say. They are saying that they wish he was physically out so that he can see the children and the rest of the family. That a phone call from behind bars doesn't suffice. This man lost his brother. I bet my bottom dollar that man wishes he could call his brother and speak to him from behind bars. Also, they were saying that he had a troublesome childhood, that he didn't have a father, and that was the reason why he was acting the way he was acting. That does not absolve you from murder. We all have a story, but we all respect the delicate balance between life and death. Lastly, she was saying that we all make mistakes. But we're not talking about bumping into each other at the grocery store. This was not a mistake. We're talking about a cash register at the Piggly Wiggly. It was so serious that someone had to lose their life over. What are you guys really saying here? It was just so disrespectful to the victim and his family. Also, he can be of service behind bars. I've seen scared straight. He doesn't have to be released to do that. Actually, it's best if he just sits there. He'll be a cautionary tale.
All right, now we'll be hearing from the opposition. We'll hear from Mr. Charles Basile. Good morning, sir. Can you unmute your microphone?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, go ahead.
You don't think he needs to get out?
The reason why I really don't think he should get out of prison. Number one, he murdered my brother on March the 27th, 2001. At that time, my stepbrother was a chief of the fire chief in Independence, Louisiana. He's the one that called us up and told us our brother is dead. He was murdered, cold-blooded murder. So he need to stay. If he gets out, he's going to wind up killing somebody else. And we don't want that to happen to nobody else for the pain that we suffer. I lost my sister on kind of all that. I lost my stepbrother, Johnny Polita. He was the fire chief in Independence. He's gone. It's just the one thing on top of another one. But my brother was murdered on March the 27th, 2001. And the guys was hiding back there in the attic. And when he went back there to do something, they made him go to the office and demand money for them. And he wouldn't do it because he thought the world of the manager over there and her husband, Paul and Mary Francis, the owner of Piggly Wiggly. And he shook the world, man. When we got that call on March the 27th, 2001, saying your baby brother was murdered. And he shouldn't get a second chance, because if he did it once, he's going to do it again. I think he should get life in prison where he cannot hurt anybody.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. God bless.
Thank you. Mr. Daniels with the DA's office.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you to the board for the time. We are voicing an opposition in support of the victim's family. I will note two things I noticed when listening is our records indicate he may actually be a third felony offender, but that his two prior felonies occurred before the 2004 change in the habitual offender law. Docket numbers out of West Baton Rouge being 918642, November 16th, 1998 conviction for possession of cocaine, as well as docket number 981968, a distinct docket number for possession with the intent to distribute cocaine. So in addition to having possibly one more egregious felony, the possession with intent to distribute cocaine in his history, I believe he benefited in my review of the record from a recantation by a co-defendant who was induced to testify against him. This board obviously has a great number of materials. I found the opinion of the First Circuit in 2010 KA 1637 very informative, and I believe former Judge Jackson's assessment of the facts was correct. This was a robbery that was planned ahead of time. This was committed not in a heat of passion or in a sudden incident. It was meticulously planned and executed. Mr. Christopher Johnson, a co-defendant, did fail at trial to identify Mr. Thomas as he had agreed to in a previous statement, and I believe that benefited him. I believe that the facts are egregious in this, and this was while a manslaughter conviction, this was a felony murder. I do not believe he has shown remorse or taken responsibility for his actions, and our office's position is that the pretrial length from the 2000 or 2001 arrest to the trial dragged the family through a very long and painful process. The parole hearing system while he is entitled to it, is again dragging the family back through the process. And it is one where I do not believe Mr. Thomas is should be considered favorably by this board, and we would voice an opposition based on his history and based on the egregious facts in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. All right, Mr. Thomas, is there a statement you'd like to make to the board before we vote?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to first I want to apologize to the victim's brother. I want to apologize for all the pain that I caused him, caused his family. For what happened should have never happened. And I take, it just, I'm very sorry. I never meant to hurt you nor your family. I never meant to do anything that was done. And if you can find in your heart, sir, to forgive me,
Speak to the board, sir. Don't speak to Mr. Basile.
Sorry. But I'd like to also apologize to my family. I'd like to apologize to my mother, my children, for everything that I put y'all through. I thank y'all for your support that they gave me. And I apologize to them for everything I put them through. I put them through a lot. I put them through things. I put the victim's family through things. I put everybody in a position which should have never happened. And I'm very, very sorry for it. It's throughout this prison time, it has showed me and it taught me a whole lot more of life and value. And it has given me opportunity to understand my actions and everything that have to come forward. I now know and understand the truth of life and value. I wake up every day thanking God. I wake up every day with it on my mind of accomplishing better things in life to help people, to keep them from actually making bad decisions, try to give them the tools to actually make more sound decisions than what I have made. And for the pain and suffering that I have caused, it should have never happened. And it's really no words that I could put into that I'm just sorry for everything I've done. And for y'all time is very valuable, and I appreciate your time. But I have now things to where I can do to help the communities. I can help people understand things to where we don't have to go through the thing that we go through just because of the neighborhood that we have lived in, or the pain that we probably have suffered from coming up as youngsters, but to actually lead them in a better direction. And it's a lot of things that's going on in the world that I feel that it could be helped by people that actually coming out of prison, that actually have the experience of actually dealing with these situations, actually have an understanding. And also dealing with the prison staff, they help a lot with the things that we go through, dealing with the jobs or anything that we may need. We can go to an officer or whatnot, and they will actually give us a better way of actually making the decision. So I also appreciate them.
Mr. Thomas, wrap it up.
That's it, ma'am. I thank you.
All right, thank you. I think we'll start with Ms. White.
All right, thank you. I just want to appreciate Mr. Vincent's brother for being here today. I know this was courageous, and it was important that you participated in the process, as well as Mr. Thomas' family. You are fortunate to have this much family support. But for me today, my vote is to deny because of the opposition that's been expressed from the family and the law enforcement community, and because of the poor supervision, supervision when you committed this offense. I do set forth the recommendation that you get involved in long-term substance abuse treatment and reapply after you completed that. You do have an excellent institutional record. Thank you. That's my vote.
Yeah. Ms. Jackson.
Mr. Thomas, I acknowledge that you have you've behaved well in prison. You only had a few write-ups. You participated in a lot of programs. But for me, I struggle with the fact that you have continued to minimize what you did in this case. And for me, you know, if your goal is to talk to young men who might fall in the same situation, you can't be out there lying to them about what you did or didn't do. They see through that. I see that you've taken a lot of faith-based programs. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to direct your attention to 1 John chapter 1, verse 9. I want you to go and meditate on that. I want you to spend a lot of time meditating on what that says and what that means. But there's strong opposition from the entire legal community. There's opposition from Mr. Basil's brother and the nature of the offense itself. And I'm just going to say this, and I know when people speak, they don't mean harm. But yeah, we all make mistakes. But to equate a murder to a mistake similar to the mistakes that we all make is really hurtful and offensive to the victim's family. Yes, we all make mistakes, but most of us don't drop down out of the ceiling with a gun and shoot a man in the head. And that minimizes and diminishes what the offender has done when you equate that behavior to saying we all make mistakes. Well, we all don't do that. The vast majority of people do not do that. And it's offensive to tell a victim or say to the victim, well, we've all made mistakes. That's not a mistake. That was an act of calculation and choice. And so in the future, let's not hear those kinds of comments again, because you can't equate a mistake that we all make to the nature of the offense in this case. So you've done well. That encourage you to keep working. You might need to take victim awareness so that you truly understand the magnitude of what you've done to this family and the harm that you caused. And reapply again when you're able. But in the meantime, I want you to spend a lot of time in 1 John 1:9. Okay? All right. My vote today is to deny.
Mr. Thomas, this is your first opportunity of parole hearing. And I think at some point you weren't eligible for parole. So, and you have done some good programs. I think you still have a little more work to do. As has been suggested, I strongly recommend the victim awareness. Ward Mills has indicated you're on the backlog for the substance abuse program, so take advantage of that opportunity as well. My vote today, based on the opposition that's been expressed here today, is to deny your parole, but I strongly encourage you to reapply once you've completed those programs and you're eligible to do so. Good luck to you, Mr. Thomas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Thomas,